So, hi, I'm Kirk Wiley. I'm CEO and one of the co-founders of OpenGamma. And when I came to the financial services industry 8 years ago, I was shocked at how dysfunctional the software that people were using on a daily basis to manage billions and billions of dollars in assets really was. From a Silicon Valley perspective, you always view finance firms as having, state-of-the-art technology, and then I started actually using the stuff for real. And I realized that, fundamentally, especially in the risk technology area, what you had is legacy vendors that really weren't producing what customers wanted on old technology. And so when we founded OpenGamma, it was for a simple story, which is we want to be an open source replacement for the traditional legacy software that is used for risk management, particularly in capital markets. So there's really no retail play on what we're doing. This is purely focused on capital market participants, banks, hedge funds, broker-dealers, that type of thing. So who are we? We're up to 21 people globally. The vast majority of our team is in London, although we do have a sales office in New York, and we'll be expanding to Geneva, Hong Kong, and Chicago within the next year and a half. And 70% of the team is still in R&D, including 6 PhDs on staff at the moment. Most of those are in our quant team. So we have people that have come out of hedge funds. We have people that have worked as desk quants at Dexia, RBS, JP Morgan, and we also have people that have never worked in finance before, specifically so that we don't reproduce the mistakes of the past. Right. And the context of what we're doing here is a realization when we got going in 2009 that the world is never going back to 2007, right? The margins are never going to be there. We're never going back to that world. There really has been a disruptive change, but traditional software and traditional vendors haven't been able to keep up with that. And some of the ways that we're seeing that is, quite frankly, risk management failed catastrophically. Now, whether that was the people or the technology is, I think, an interesting discussion that we could have over drinks. But I do know, having been on a trading floor the day after the Lehman's bankruptcy, it took us 3 weeks to figure out what our total exposure was to Lehman. And that was down to the technology, and I was kind of partly to blame there, let me just say. Margins are down forever, right? So any bank that has had the luxury of building a massive in-house team to do this type of technology doesn't have that luxury anymore, because we're never going to come back to those traditional margin days of 2007. We're seeing a movement in the market to much more of a focus on flow-based contracts rather than exotic derivatives. Flow means standardization, meaning that you can bring open source in, and we're already seeing that regulators are saying if they can't inspect it, if they don't know what's actually going on under the hood, then they won't let you do it, right? Whether it's technology or business-wise. And so all of that's coming together to mean that we have a market that is in desperate need of disruption. I think the key statistic here is that we've got a $7.1 billion a year market that's still growing pretty rapidly, and this number, 46% of the spend at the moment is in-house developed software. And I do not know any other vertical in the world that you could get away with 46% in-house spend and having vendors only capture 24% of this market, right? So your options today are you can use an external service like Riskmetrics, which we go up against all the time. You can buy a trading system like a Calypso, Front Arena, Murex, Sophis. You can build it yourself, or traditionally there's been nothing in that high flexibility, low cost bracket, and that's where we come in. Right? We often get asked why we're open source, right? Our technology is state of the art, very innovative. We have a clear technological lead, so why open source it? Why we put $7 million R&D effort out under an Apache license? And the simple fact is that we've been told over and over that what we do is so fundamental to what the firms that use us do that they wouldn't let us be in the house if we weren't open source, right? This lack of vendor lock-in, this radical transparency is the key, we believe, to capturing that 46% of the spend. Right, so our commercial model is based on 4 prongs. This is a very tried and tested open core model. We have proprietary modules that we can't legally open source, so customers get those. We provide a commercial license to make procurement happy. We also have confidential support. No one that doesn't write us a check gets private support. And we have very proactive support that's offered at a massively reduced total cost to internal development effort, even down to doing things like trial running upgrades and being able to incorporate other people's code into our QA process, right? We spent 2.5 years getting going, released 1.0 in April of this year. first quarter this year was the first real quarter of commercialization, and we closed 3 clients that quarter alone, and we have a very strong pipeline. And I think one of the most interesting things here is in something that seems very esoteric, derivatives risk management. We've had over 7,000 downloads since we started seeding the market with technology prep. And we know where those downloads are coming from, and they're coming from every bank, every hedge fund, and every one of our legacy competitors. So we know that there are people out there that are adopting this, and it's starting to pay off commercially big time for us. So the advantages that we have and why we think we're going to be dominant in this space are we're the first ever production-grade open source system in this space. It's a state-of-the-art architecture, right? It provides radical transparencies that mean that regulators are starting to mention to their clients about this. We have 3 years head start on anybody else getting into the market. We know that nobody's going to fund anybody else in this space because with something out there, state-of-the-art and open source, why would you spend that $7 million again? And we've put together a team that has both the domain expertise and the technological innovation to be able to do this successfully. So we believe that a next generation platform has the ability to dominate that market, and we believe that OpenGamma has the potential to become the de facto standard in this space within a short matter of time.